The last train of winter arrived at Black Hollow Station just before sunset, carrying passengers searching for new beginnings. But nobody expected the sight that would silence the entire platform. The train doors opened slowly, and a young woman stepped down into the freezing snow. Her name was Eleanor Hayes. She was wearing an old faded dress that had clearly survived too many miles. Her thin coat was torn at the edges, her boots were covered in mud and snow, and in her hand she carried a small broken leather suitcase that looked like it contained everything she owned. The station became quiet. People stared, then the whispers began, "That's the bride from Kansas. They really sent her to Nathaniel Brooks. She doesn't look anything like a rancher's wife." A few people laughed. Eleanor heard every word, but she did not answer. She simply tightened her grip on her suitcase and looked toward the endless snowy road ahead. Because after everything she had survived, she had learned one important lesson: a person's worth was not decided by the opinions of strangers. Before continuing this emotional frontier story, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Meaningful Horizons for more unforgettable Wild West stories filled with hope, courage, and unexpected love. Eleanor Hayes had not always been treated like an outsider. When she was young, she dreamed of a simple life. She wanted a small home, a loving family, and a place where she belonged. But life had been unkind. After a childhood accident left a small scar near her cheek, people started seeing her differently. They noticed the scar before they noticed her kindness. They judged her appearance before they ever learned about her heart. But Eleanor never allowed their cruelty to change who she was. She spent years caring for her elderly father, helping struggling neighbors, and giving whatever little she had to people who needed it more. She had never been rich. She had never worn expensive dresses, but she had something money not buy. A heart that remained gentle even after being hurt. That was exactly why Margaret Collins hated her. Margaret was the daughter of one of the wealthiest businessmen in Kansas. She had always believed she deserved the best of everything. And when she heard about Nathaniel Brooks, the wealthy rancher from Wyoming, she immediately wanted him. Nathaniel owned thousands of acres of land, hundreds of cattle, and one of the most successful ranches in the territory. To Margaret, he was the perfect husband. But Nathaniel had one condition. He did not want a woman who cared about money or status. He wanted someone with honesty and kindness. When Margaret discovered that Eleanor had been chosen through a marriage arrangement, jealousy filled her heart. She could not accept that a woman like Eleanor might receive the happiness she wanted. So, Margaret created a cruel plan. She secretly changed Eleanor's introduction letter. She added lies. She made Eleanor sound desperate and unwanted. Then she convinced everyone that Nathaniel would laugh the moment he saw her. Margaret believed Eleanor would travel all the way to Wyoming, be rejected, and return home humiliated. But she did not understand something. Eleanor was not traveling there because she wanted wealth. She was traveling there because she still believed life could offer a second chance. After days of exhausting travel, Eleanor finally arrived at Black Hollow Station. The snow became heavier. A cold wind cut through her old coat. For a moment, she wondered if she had made a mistake. She looked at the letter in her hand. "Maybe they were right," she whispered. "Maybe I don't belong anywhere." But then she remembered all the people she had helped, all the moments when she chose kindness instead of anger, and she lifted her suitcase again. "I came this far," she said softly. "I will not give up now." Several hours later, a horse-drawn wagon arrived to take her to Iron Creek Ranch. When Eleanor finally reached the ranch, darkness covered the valley. The massive wooden house stood against the snowy mountains, like a fortress. Nathaniel Brooks was waiting outside. He was a man everyone respected, 38 years old, tall, strong, with dark hair, a short beard, and a serious expression that made most people nervous. Nathaniel had everything a man could want except peace. 5 years earlier he had lost the woman he planned to marry. After that heartbreak, he closed himself away. He built a successful ranch, but he stopped allowing people into his life. When he saw Eleanor step out of the wagon, he expected disappointment. The letter he received had described a woman who would probably only bring problems. But what he saw surprised him. Eleanor looked exhausted. Her clothes were worn, her suitcase was broken, yet before walking toward him, she turned around and thanked the driver. Then she noticed an older man struggling with a heavy bag and immediately helped him. Nathaniel watched silently. Most people tried to impress him. This woman did not even know he was watching. "I'm Eleanor Hayes," she said when she finally reached him. Nathaniel studied her face. He noticed the scar. He noticed the old clothes. But more importantly, he noticed the kindness in her eyes. "You traveled all this way alone?" he asked. "Yes, why?" Eleanor looked at the ranch behind him, a place that looked wealthy but strangely empty. "Because sometimes," she replied, "a person's to leave everything behind to find where they truly belong." Nathaniel did not know why, but those words stayed with him. Inside the ranch house, Eleanor looked around. The rooms were large but cold, beautiful but lonely. "This is a wonderful home," she said. Nathaniel almost smiled. "Most people say it feels empty." Eleanor gently touched the old wooden table. "Maybe it is not empty," she said. "Maybe it is just waiting for someone to bring warmth back." For the first time in years, Nathaniel had no answer. The next morning, everyone at Iron Creek Ranch expected trouble. They expected a woman who came only for money. Instead, they saw Eleanor wake before sunrise and prepare breakfast for the workers. She thanked everyone. She listened to their stories. She treated ranch hands like family. Slowly, something changed. The ranch that had been silent for years began to feel alive. Nathaniel noticed. He noticed the way Eleanor helped an injured worker without hesitation. He noticed this way she gave her own warm coat to a child from a nearby family. He noticed that she never once complained about her difficult journey. And for the first time, Nathaniel began questioning everything he thought he knew about her. But one question remained in his mind. Why would a woman like Eleanor agree to marry a stranger? One evening, he found her sitting near the fence watching the sunset. "You never asked about my wealth," Nathaniel said. Eleanor looked at him. "Should I have? Most people would." She smiled sadly. "I know what it feels like when people only see what they can gain from you." Nathaniel became quiet because he understood that pain. Then Eleanor looked toward the mountains. "You didn't come here looking for a rich man. Then what were you looking for?" She paused. "A place where I wouldn't have to prove that I deserved to be there." Nathaniel felt those words deeply because he realized something. The woman everyone had called worthless was the first person in years who made his empty ranch feel like home. But he did not know the full truth yet. He did not know that Eleanor was carrying a secret connected to his past, a secret that would soon change everything. The winter morning after Eleanor's arrival felt different at Iron Creek Ranch. For years, the ranch had been known as a place of success, but not happiness. The land was beautiful, the cattle were valuable, and the workers respected Nathaniel Brooks. But inside the large ranch house, there had always been a quiet emptiness until Eleanor arrived. She did not bring expensive belongings. She did not bring wealth. She did not bring the perfect appearance people expected. She brought something much rarer: warmth. Every morning, Eleanor woke before sunrise. She helped prepare meals, checked on the animals, and spoke kindly to everyone she met. The ranch workers who had once been suspicious of her slowly began respecting her. Samuel, the oldest ranch hand, watched the change with a smile. "I have worked here for 20 years, he told Nathaniel one afternoon. "You have seen this ranch survive storms, droughts, and hard winters, but I have never seen it feel alive like this." Nathaniel looked toward the house. Eleanor was standing near the garden, helping a young child from a nearby family. "She is different," Samuel said. Nathaniel quietly replied, "Yes, she is," but he did not understand why those words affected him. For years, Nathaniel believed his heart had become too damaged to feel anything again. Yet every time Eleanor smiled, every time she showed kindness, something inside him changed. He started coming home earlier. He started talking more. He even laughed sometimes. The workers noticed. The entire valley noticed. But Eleanor noticed something too. Behind Nathaniel's strength was a man still carrying old pain. One evening she found him sitting alone in his office, staring at an old photograph. She did not ask who it was. She already knew. The sadness in his eyes told her everything. "You miss her?" Eleanor said softly. Nathaniel looked surprised. "You know about Elizabeth?" Eleanor hesitated, only for a second. "Yes." Nathaniel studied her expression. "How?" Before Eleanor could answer, the sound of approaching horses interrupted them. A stranger had arrived at Iron Creek Ranch. A man wearing a black coat, expensive boots, and a confident smile stepped down from his horse. His name was Henry Collins. Nathaniel immediately recognized the surname. The Collins family from Kansas, the same family Eleanor had left behind. "I believe we need to talk," Henry said. Nathaniel's expression became cold. "What about?" Henry looked toward Eleanor. "About the woman you invited into your home." Eleanor became nervous. Nathaniel noticed. What are you saying?" Henry pulled an envelope from his coat. "The truth is, Eleanor Hayes was never supposed to arrive here the way she did." Nathaniel took the envelope. Inside were copies of the original letters. His eyes moved across the pages. The lies, the changed descriptions, the cruel words, everything was revealed. Someone had tried to make Eleanor look like a desperate woman who had nothing to offer. Nathaniel slowly looked up. Who did this? Henry lowered his head. My sister Margaret. The silence filled the room. Eleanor looked away. Even though she already knew she had been betrayed, hearing the truth still hurt. Nathaniel looked at her. You knew? She nodded. I suspected. Then why didn't you tell me? Eleanor's became quiet. Because I was afraid. Afraid of what? That once you knew everything you would see me the same way they did. Nathaniel stepped closer. Eleanor, do you really think I care about a letter written by cruel people? She looked at him with tears in her eyes. My whole life, people decided who I was before they knew me. Nathaniel felt those words because he realized she was not talking about a scar. She was talking about being invisible. Then Henry spoke again. There is one more thing. He reached into his coat and removed an old envelope. Nathaniel froze when he saw the handwriting. Elizabeth, the woman he had lost years ago. His hands trembled as he opened it. Inside was a letter written shortly before her death. Nathaniel read silently. And then his entire expression changed. Because Elizabeth had written about Eleanor, she had known her, she had trusted her, and she had left behind a message that explained why Eleanor truly came to Iron Creek Ranch. Nathaniel looked at Eleanor. You knew Elizabeth. A tear rolled down Eleanor's cheek. Yes. The room became silent. When Elizabeth was sick, I helped take care of her. She was kind to me when nobody else was. Nathaniel could barely speak. Why didn't you tell me? Because I did not want you to accept me because of her. Eleanor looked down. I wanted you to know me for who I am. Nathaniel looked at the woman standing in front of him, the woman everyone had mocked, the woman they had sent away as a joke, and suddenly he understood. The world had focused on her old clothes, her scar, her appearance. Elizabeth had seen what mattered, her heart. Eleanor finally revealed the secret Elizabeth had left behind. Before she passed away, Elizabeth told me something. Nathaniel listened carefully. She said that if you ever stopped believing in happiness, you should remind you that love was never meant to end with loss. Nathaniel looked away. For years, he thought loving again meant betraying his past. But now he realized Elizabeth never wanted that. She wanted him to live. Days later, Nathaniel traveled to Kansas. He confronted Margaret Collins. You tried to destroy someone who never harmed you, he said. Margaret looked ashamed. I thought she would never be enough. Nathaniel answered calmly. That was your mistake. You judged her by what you saw. I judged her by what she showed me. When Nathaniel returned to Iron Creek Ranch, he found Eleanor preparing to leave. Her suitcase was packed. You're leaving? He asked. Eleanor looked down. You don't want to be a reminder of painful memories. Nathaniel walked closer. You are not a reminder of pain. He looked at the broken suitcase beside her. When you arrived at that train station, everyone saw your damaged clothes and thought they knew your story. He paused. But they were wrong. Eleanor looked at him. You were the first person who brought kindness back into this ranch. His voice softened. You were the first person who made this place feel like home. Tears filled Eleanor's eyes. For the first time in her life, someone was choosing her. Not because of her appearance, not because of what she owned, but because of who she truly was. 8 months later, Iron Creek Ranch celebrated a wedding that people across Wyoming would never forget. Eleanor wore a simple dress. She did not need diamonds. She did not need to prove anything because everyone finally understood the truth. The woman they called the Ugly Bride had the most beautiful heart in the entire valley. And every winter, when snow covered Black Hollow Station, Nathaniel remembered the day Eleanor stepped off the train with nothing but an old suitcase and a dream. The world had sent him what they thought was a mistake, but Nathaniel knew better. They had sent him the greatest blessing of his life. The end.